everyone, and welcome back to the Unique Zone Mortgage series. I'm your host, Venu Rehan, and today we are diving into a popular topic that many overlook but holds massive potential: commercial mortgages in Dubai. Whether you are a business owner, planning your next move, or an investor looking for a stable return, this episode could open the door to your next opportunity. And joining me today, as always, is someone who makes even the most complex topics easy to understand: Abbas, Senior Mortgage Consultant from Specialist Mortgage Brokers. Welcome back, Abbas.
Thank you, Ms. Venu. It's always a pleasure to be here, as always. And yes, I'm really glad we're touching this topic on commercial properties because it sounds like a very intimidating topic.
Actually, yes.
But once we dive into it, we break it down, people will understand for what exactly it is. It is a great opportunity for a market which has a lot of potential for commercial units.
I completely agree. In fact, I have noticed a growing interest. People are asking about offices in Business Bay, retail spaces in Arjan, even warehouses in Jebel Ali. But the minute they hear commercial mortgages, they hesitate, as if it's only for big corporations. So Abbas, what's your insight on this?
First of all, it's such a misconception that only businesses can acquire commercial units. Even actually individuals who are on a salary can acquire commercial units. And they have great products in the banks for that. The only difference I would say is when you buy a residential property to a commercial property is the bank focuses more on your property that you're buying. So the income that you're going to generate, the rental income that you're going to generate, or what is the prospect of the capital appreciation of that property matters to the bank. So ideally, it's not a very big issue when it comes to buying a commercial unit if you find the right bank.
Okay.
And the right property.
So it's always about the right bank, the right property, and to whom you have to contact.
Exactly. And that's us.
Of course.
Yeah.
And think about this. Instead of paying rent every year, you could own that space for your business. Or if you're an investor, you could lease it out and generate passive income from day one. You are building equity, not just somebody else's wealth.
And that's the exact reason why so many people opt for a commercial property. As compared to a residential unit, you have longer tenants as
Correct.
they are businesses who are renting your unit. So they wouldn't want to shift every year.
Of course.
As compared to us individuals, we do have the habit of hopping
1
houses.
year, 2 year,
Exactly.
like that.
So businesses don't do that. So for an investor who's buying a commercial property and going down on rent, he has a steady cash flow for a long term.
Yeah.
And also banks give you at least 60 to 70% loan on the commercial property. So with a down payment of just 30 to 40%, you're in. You start with your journey with the banks.
That's huge. One of my clients, Abbas, a young entrepreneur, bought a warehouse with commercial finance. Not only she's running her business from there, but the property value has gone up by 15% in just 6 months. She's building a business and growing her wealth.
Yeah, that's a success story we want to hear, right?
And we've just recently, I just signed MOU in December, and we transferred the property in February. So this has just happened in front of my eyes, and how I've seen the appreciation.
If you go to see that, there are so many factors which differentiate it from a residential property, right? One is, the rental income which you get on a commercial is way higher than a residential unit.
Yeah.
It's something to do with supply and demand.
Yes.
If you see the residential supply in the market, and then you consider a business or individual going to look for a commercial property, he's not going to find it everywhere in every building. So always the demand is higher, the supply is low, so that again increases the value of the unit. So it's very easy. I'm sure you've done the whole process for her as well.
It took me a very long time. So, these MOUs, they start like, we feel that the entire transaction could finish it in a month. But it took me good 3 months because the process was very different. I have to go to multiple entities for the NOC. So it takes good long time for a customer to get the transfer done.
But again, wouldn't be worth the returns you get on that.
It's worth the wait.
So of course, 3 months for you to get a return of, you said 15%, right?
Yes.
I would definitely dive into something like that.
So, Abbas, let's get started. People who are hearing us for the first time would like to know what is commercial mortgage and how can they apply?
So commercial mortgage is basically a bank loan you take against a commercial unit, which can be a office space, it can be a retail shop, it can be a warehouse, it can be an industrial unit used for manufacturing or packaging. It can be on the mainland. It can be few banks do it for properties inside the free zone as well. So, and people who can apply again, as we covered that point, self-employed.
Yes.
And salaried individuals can apply as well. And the process, as you see, is pretty much similar with the banks where you submit your income documents. For businesses, they require a much more documentation. Again, it's the same, for
same like
residential units.
Right.
Yes, a salaried individual has to just show his salary documents, his bank statements, and they're good to go.
Okay. So what documents need to be applied when a customer is applying for a commercial mortgage?
Documents would be for a self-employed person, again, his passport, his trade license, his MOU, his company bank statements. If you buy a commercial property, your audits are required.
They are mandatory.
Yes, they are mandatory because you're making an investment in a commercial property, so the bank doesn't want to see what you're doing in present. They want to see the health of your company for the past 2 years and get a fair idea of what your business plan is. So, and your audits say that a lot.
Of course.
So, yes, that's it for a salaried individual. Again, your passport, your visa, MS ID copies, a valid employment certificate or what we call a salary certificate from your employer,
6 months bank statement.
and your bank statements. Yeah. So that's about it. In certain banks for salaried individuals, there's a minimum cap of the salary, which, as in residential units, an individual even with a 10,000 salary
he can apply
for a mortgage.
But for
commercial, earlier on it was much higher. It would go up to 50,000 dirhams.
Okay.
But now, even at a 25,000 salary,
the client can apply.
Yes.
Wow, that is really good.
Yes. So the LTV would, of course, differ.
Of course, they would differ from case to case, from salaried to self-employed.
The LTV actually more depends on what you're buying. So if you're buying a warehouse or a shop, that would get you a lower LTV of around 50 to 60%. If you would require a 70% loan to value, that usually comes for commercial offices. And office space would get you a 70%.
And retails and warehouses?
Shops and warehouses, again, 50 to 60%.
That's the max.
Yes.
Now let's address credit history. Do banks check your credit score?
I mean, yes.
We
can't emphasize enough on the credit scores. It's whether you go for a minimum thing as a credit card, to you going for a $1 million dirham investment for a property. Your credit score is the first thing the bank's going to check.
So that's like very important aspect.
I mean, there are certain banks, even when you submit the documents to them, the first thing they see is your credit score. And if your credit score is not to their mark, they're not going to go ahead. So there are a lot of clients who have a healthy business or a very good salary, but the credit score has gone down due to XYZ reasons. You've missed your payments. Even as simple as you missing on an Iftisalat bill can hit your credit
so
score.
A small thing can actually disturb your entire credit history.
It can. And once you go into an investment, for you to fix your credit score, for you to go to your bank or to go to Etisalat to update that becomes very difficult. So I think this question holds very important for any kind of facility you're taking with the bank. Your credit score needs to be maintained. Ideally, I wouldn't say for other products, but if you're applying for a mortgage of any sort, of commercial or any sort, banks usually have a criteria of between 600 to 650 as the minimum score, which is considered 650 is the minimum with certain banks. If you're below 600, it's going to make it very difficult for you.
So if it is below 600, they don't get mortgage, or there is still some scope of getting a mortgage?
I mean, you would get a mortgage, but you wouldn't get the bank which you prefer at the interest rates which you prefer.
This was very important for us to know.
I think if you are in the market and you're going to apply for a mortgage, I think credit score is the first thing, and it's a very easy thing. It's on an app. You check your score, and if you find some discrepancies, then I think that's the first thing which you need to fix.
Got it. Yeah. And what about interest rate? Banks are offering fixed or variable rates.
It's the same as residential mortgages. Bank will offer you a fixed rate or a variable rate. In certain conditions, with certain banks, they don't offer fixed rates at all.
Okay.
And they just offer you a variable rate, which can be anything between 2 to 2.5% plus the central bank rates. This usually applies when a person is going for an industrial unit or a warehouse.
Okay.
Then the banks which they have to approach, they don't offer fixed rates.
Okay.
But in other terms, fixed rates are offered for offices, retail offices. There are banks where there are products anywhere between 4.5 to 6.5%. You will get the fixed rates.
Okay.
I think the major difference comes in the tenure of the loan for that.
Sure.
Interest rate is one thing. A loan tenure, because on residential properties you get up to 25 years.
Correct.
For a commercial unit, most of the banks have it capped at 15 years.
Okay.
So you have to consider your installments are going to be a bit higher because they're not spread out over the years.
And on the other aspect, the selling prices of retails, warehouses and office have now shot up.
Yes, definitely.
So if I compare from 2015 and what I see market now, so the rise is like this.
Oh, it's shot up really well. To be honest, banks know this.
Of course.
So
they have to ensure in 15 years,
they know what kind of returns the client is going to get. So when they give such a fixed rate or an interest rate, they know it will be very easy for him to pay that off comparatively, because you would know better the returns on a residential unit, a commercial unit
as compared to residential. They are very different.
It would be 10-11% plus.
Minimum. That's the minimum. 10 to 11 benchmark is minimum for retail, for warehouses.
Yeah. And that's just the rental.
Yes.
If you take your capital appreciation, that's again anywhere in a 2-digit figure every year. Absolutely. What we've been seeing since 2021.
Yes, absolutely.
So right. I think, yes, the interest rates are higher, the loan tenure is less, but again, you're doubling down on your capital and your investment as well. Okay. So, yes.
What charges should the applicant aware of?
Pretty standard. One, the government charges are there, the land department charges. There is a mortgage registration charge from the government, which is 0.25% of the loan amount.
Okay.
And then obviously there's a 4,200 trustee fee, which you pay for everything.
For every transaction. Yes.
At trustee's office. When it comes to the bank side, you would pay a processing fee of 1 to 1.5%.
Okay.
There is a evaluation cost of your unit.
Okay.
And certainly there is an exception over here depends on the value. Like if you're going for a higher unit value, obviously there are legalities involved with acquiring that unit.
Okay.
Let's say if you go when we say commercial property, we're not just talking about just one office space. Banks also do for buildings as well. So if you're doing a mortgage for buying a building or a hotel, so obviously that's a legal cost where there's involved, where you would have to get a lawyer to get all the contracts in place.
Sure.
So that is one thing which can go to X amount, depends on how good of a lawyer you want to get in. So that's not a bank charge, but yes, it is something which is involved. So to sum it up, I think with the banks, initially you just have the processing fee and the evaluation fees which you have to have, and then you just start paying your interest.
So if you are ready to explore commercial investments, reach out to us at Unique Zone Real Estate, and Abbas, our mortgage consultant from Specialist Mortgage Broker, will be always there to help you. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Unique Zone Mortgage series. Take care and keep investing smart.